Hey, welcome to a special bonus episode of Cubicle to CEO, the podcast where we ask successful founders the business questions you can't Google. I'm your host, Ellen Yin, and our guest today is Noah Kagan, who many of you may recognize as the founder and CEO of AppSumo, the #1 software deal site. AppSumo is a bootstrapped 8-figure business making more than $80 million a year. Our conversation today was inspired by Noah's book, $1 Million Weekend. So I decided to ask him to share with us 5 ideas he's implemented at AppSumo that has made the company more than $1 million each. Let's dive in. So for our listeners, the context for this case study is I asked Noah to bring to this conversation 5 ideas that he actually implemented in AppSumo that each made $1 million or more in revenue. So these are $5 million ideas in theme with his book, $1 Million Weekend. So Noah, what was the first idea that came to mind that you wanted to share?
The first thing is giveaways. Here's the coolest part about it. You can get inspiration outside of your industry. So even last night at $1 Million Weekend, we had a book birthday party, a 0 birthday because it just launched. And so my girlfriend and I looked on Instagram baby shower parties for inspiration. It was really inspiring. It was my girlfriend's idea. I was like, that is really, really smart. And that's exactly how we found giveaways, where I was on a women's magazine or women's blog, and they were doing a giveaway for some trip to Italy. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. We should try a giveaway of software, AppSumo software for solopreneurs. Pay once, get it forever. And I was like, what if we did something that's like, you get the software, like Dropbox, which I think is so cool, and we'll give it to you for life. And that will be our giveaway. And my partner then was like, all right, I'm going to build software so we can actually track it. Like, you give us your email, you share it with the friends, and they join and they get all these points. You can get points. So he built it in a few days, launched it. And I remember going to lunch. I was at lunch on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, and it was crazy. At noon, I looked at the Dropbox for Life giveaway. We had 250,000 email signups.
Oh my gosh.
250,000 by noon, and we launched it in the morning. And that alone, if you fast forward over the years, it's an 8-figure idea. And so these giveaways are really compelling. We've done another part of business is whatever you find working, do a lot of it. So then we did almost a giveaway every single month and we're still doing them 14 years later. We're still doing giveaways. We just gave away 7 Apple Vision Pros.
I love that. Okay, I have a bunch of questions. First thing is, okay, so you did Dropbox for life. I'm assuming like you were just going to front the cost of whatever that cost for you to provide that, right? Provide said price. Or was this like a Dropbox alternative, just to make sure I understand?
No. So, AppSumo's software for entrepreneurs. So we want to get people who are looking for software tools. So the way that anyone can do this, and I'll tell you a way to do it for free. You don't have to do it this way, but Dropbox is like $100 a year. So we thought, hey, if we can make at least $100 a year, then it'll be worth it. We're still paying this person's Dropbox, but that made over $10 million because we tracked it. Those people that came from just that Dropbox giveaway. And so we just thought, hey, if we can make at least $100 a year profit to cover the cost of it, it'll be worth it. And you can experiment, so cheap.
So smart. I want to know, what was like the distribution strategy for this giveaway? Because obviously most people, like even if we launched, I would say like the average person who maybe doesn't have a large audience, if they're launching a really epic giveaway, even if it's like, I'm going to buy you a new Mac or a new iPhone every year, right? Yes, there is some virality built into that concept from the get-go, but like it's still astounding to receive 250,000 signups in a few hours. So like, how did you get the word out about this giveaway, or did you already have some sort of audience built in?
That's in the masterclass that you're going to sell them, Ellen. Let me just break down a few things. So the software, we actually still sell the software. We ended up selling the giveaway software. It's called kingsumo.com. And that became $1 million business in and of itself, which is kind of funny. So a few things to think about, because we've done, I don't know, hundreds of different giveaways. When you do a broad item, like an Apple MacBook or some of these things, you're not going to get a good audience. You're going to get mostly like kind of people just want to get a free thing. You have to have a balance of what is the thing that really will appeal dramatically to your target customer. And so, we've more related to software for us is the ideal winner. We gave away my Tesla a few years ago, like literally my car. And it was great, but it barely broke even. That was a $70,000 car. And so it was cool though. We did it because it was cool. Now taking a step back, what I would think about is when we launched it, I didn't have a big following. This is 2010, right? I don't, Twitter and all these, YouTube wasn't that big back then. Facebook and Twitter were sizable, but nowhere near where they are now. It was really because it was something that people wanted to tell others about. And I tried so many gimmicks that I think you read about in a lot of other books. But what I've noticed with $1 Million Weekend and with this giveaway, it was like it was so darn good, people wanted to tell others. The other thing that you can do for free, and I've had a lot of success with it, is that if you don't have money or you don't have an audience, do a giveaway with a few other people. Right? And you can do it like these Instagram tag ones, but like don't hit up Ellen. hit up other people, bug them, and be like, hey, I love your pants. So like I like these pants by I like huckberry.com, I like roan.com, I like these, and look for smaller ones and just hit them up and be like, hey, can I get one free pair? And you want to do a giveaway with me? And I'll get a few other people to do the giveaway. And then you ask them, what's one other company that I should do it with? And then they'll refer a friend. Then you do this kind of bundle giveaway and you give them each their Instagram or their email or their social to promote it. And now you haven't spent any money, which is, I've done these a ton. I've done like an office giveaway. We've done like a travel giveaway, and you just ask people. And that's a way to also leverage other people's audiences in a giveaway.
So smart. Yeah, I'm all about leveraging other people's audiences. I think that's the fastest way to grow. Rather, I mean, of course, building community is important, but time is the primary factor that most people like to ignore in that equation. So, love the idea of bundling with others, different prizes. I am curious, since you have tested all of these different prizes in giveaways, out of all the ones you've done, which one on the back end has actually been the most profitable? Is it the Dropbox for Life, or has there been another prize that the quality of leads that you got actually even outperformed that campaign, if you know?
The more recent ones haven't worked as well. I think the platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they are more aggressive throttling these. So you have to be mindful of that. The ones that were more popular. So here's an easy one a lot of people can do. Find a book that's in your category, maybe $1 Million Weekend or a different one, and give away that. Those are actually been really surprisingly good for my personal site. Is that did really well. But for AppSumo, so for my site, like I give away Seth Godin's books like years ago, and those were super successful. You got $30 in books, super cheap. With AppSumo, I would say the Dropbox crushed, Evernote for life, that crushed. We did Spotify and Netflix for life. Again,
Interesting.
these are super cool. People are like, yeah, but those are too broad. So what happens is it goes on like Reddit/r/ like freebies or some like deals website, and you just get people signing up to win it. What we've noticed now in our approach around these giveaways is if we can break even on the giveaway, meaning how much it costs us versus how much we can directly see direct revenue, and it's cool, we're okay with that because we think it gets good exposure and good brand awareness for people thinking about AppSumo.
Oh, so brilliant. I love this. Well, that is, I think, something that any of us could implement, like you said, this weekend, to your point. It doesn't take a whole lot of lift to execute on this idea. Let's jump over to idea number two. What was your second $1 million idea that you implemented at AppSumo?
Email marketing.
Okay, so that's a pretty broad topic. Is there something in specific something in specific that you are thinking of when it comes to how you guys at AppSumo do email marketing differently?
Well, let me take a step back because I think people have heard email marketing, but I think how we got there and then how we execute it today is really the interesting part. And just to give context, we didn't do email marketing for the first year.
On purpose?
No, that's exactly my point. I think people don't realize the power of email. Like, let me give you a great example. I have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty cool. But I put out a video about my book launch, $1 Million Weekend last week, 12,000 views, which is still great. It's better than none. Like, I'm glad it's greater than zero. But think about that. I've spent 2 years and over $1 million cash paying the team and hiring and flying and all this different stuff to make these videos. So the reality is that YouTube controls my audience, not me. I can't talk to them unless I make some really neat video that YouTube decides. And so that's the power of email marketing. And AppSumo.com, $80 million a year business, half of it is from email. If not, sometimes a little more, but give or take, it's around 50 million in gross sales from email.
That's so impressive, but not surprising. I mean, I'm on AppSumo's list, and you guys are very
Uh,
diligent about yes, real life case study here. And you've gotten me like many a time, when I'm looking for something or not looking for something. Sometimes you just present such a good offer that I can't resist, even if it wasn't top of mind for me. So unsurprised that that is such a huge driver of revenue in your business. Is there anything about the way that you email, whether it's the cadence, whether it's the different types of emails, or even list growth, that you would want to shed some insight on for our listeners?
yeah. Where are most of your listeners at? So maybe let's answer it from that perspective versus like I can go over the 15 years of me doing a lot of different emails. I think we sent over 1 billion.
I mean, I would say our listeners really are a broad range. We have new people who listen to our show. We have people who are decades long established entrepreneurs who listen to our show. Most, I would say, currently are in the online business space, not all. But even like beyond that, though, I think I would just love to know what has worked for you? Because I understand it's not a direct copy paste, but what I think you've even proven with your earlier point about looking at baby showers for giveaway ideas is that sometimes it does take looking at someone outside of our industry or niche or even stage of business to get a brilliant idea. So share what's worked well for you.
Yeah, I was thinking of just different examples. I would say for everyone out there, the number one thing is they didn't start it. They don't start their email list today. And you can use, I use sendfox.com. It's what I built because I hate subscriptions. But you can use MailChimp or ConvertKit. Almost everyone regrets not starting sooner. Again, I know I'm going to give you more, we'll give it more like complicated, but most people, they just don't start. And the other thing is that they don't stick with the cadence of communication. So I've sent an email every week on noahkagan.com for 15 years. So when I launch a book, which we just launched, people are pretty responsive. And generally I aim for, I think a healthy email list is 20 to 30% at least open rates. Now here's a tip. People want to hear like these like secretive things. And I'm not saying this is what you're asking. I like secretive things. I like tell me this cool tactic. But most of the time, how you can get really rich is this boring stuff that's fundamentals. And so I have to balance telling, you know what I mean? Because I want some secrets.
Simple truths. It's simple truths, and execution really is like 90% of the game.
If you today just put a form on your site or update your bios on your socials or post it to your socials, hey, and think about something that you do that others want. So I posted in December, hey, I'm going to show you exactly my 2024 yearly goals. Join my newsletter today and I'll send it out to you tomorrow. That was probably the number one, I guess they call them lead magnets, which is I'm sharing how my goals and how I got there. And it was a good reminder, like what's the reason people should be excited to get into your newsletter? So that was a really powerful one. The other thing I would say that I've done as well, literally since the beginning of AppSumo, is that I reply to almost every single person personally.
Wow. You respond like that come to the like if someone gets an email from AppSumo and they just hit reply,
AppSumo,
you
yeah.
respond to that.
Not today. Today it's like that's hundreds of thousands of millions of people, so it's a bit much. But on noahkagan.com, if you join today and you reply to the first email, I reply back to you personally.
Nice. That's a really solid practice.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, who's your VA?" And they always do this. They say this, "Hey, I know this is Noah's team. Can you tell Noah thanks?" And I'm like, "This is Noah's assistant named Noah." He says, "Cool." And I think a lot of times we don't get to scale. We don't get to millions because we don't focus on the ones. And that's also been fun. I mean, frankly, it's interesting. We did a book launch party, and maybe this is a separate thing, but involving your customers in your business early and showing them all the things happening in the kitchen is a really great way of building relationships. I think it seems like you're doing a great job of that. And I would say we had this launch team for the book. And what was really interesting, it wasn't like, it was 1,300 people. I manually messaged them on Twitter or LinkedIn to join my launch team. But what was fascinating is like, I knew most of these people. And I think people are like, oh, wow, like that's different. Like I thought you're going to buy ads. And yes, we spend $500,000 a month in ads. And yes, there's all these things, but a lot of it is because like one by one, I'm talking to people, I'm making sure they're happy. I'm seeing what they need, writing about it or providing deals about it. And I think if you can do that, that is how you can build a very large business without actually a large audience.
I want to underscore that point because I'll just use myself as an example. You did this to me in real time. That's why we're having this conversation today, right? So, just to give a little backstory, I don't even remember what specific partnership this contract was for, but I get an email in my inbox one evening, and it's a DocuSign. So it's like when you sign things on DocuSign, it says like confirmed, like all parties have signed this document or whatever. So it's a response to a DocuSign, and I go, huh, what is this? I click open. It's Noah, and he's like, hey, Ellen, just curious if you still use DocuSign. And I'm like, what is this email? This is like so random. I'm like, have we spoken before? Do we know each other? It was like, it was, it was great. It was excellent because it was such an attention grabber. It's what you would call a pattern interrupt, right? It's something I wasn't expecting to receive in my inbox. And it was a question that I also wouldn't normally be asked, but it was so interesting. Like I was so intrigued by like what is the purpose behind this question that of course I had to respond. And then one thing led to another, and here we are talking on this podcast. And so I'm just curious, like the point that you made about sometimes we ignore the one-to-ones, the unscalable pieces, which actually are what lead to the millions. I would love to know, is a practice like that the kind of just this very casual, like let me just respond to or hit reply on like an existing random email thread to a person? Is that a outreach thing that you do often when it comes to email marketing, or was that kind of just like a happenstance?
So for context, here's the best way you can ever kind of promote your business is prove your business. So with $1 Million Weekend, yes, I've written the book. Yes, I've started a lot of businesses. Yes, I've helped people do it. But let me do it again. So I did my own $1 Million Weekend, not using my social media, not using my email list. And one of the business ideas that we came up with following the $1 Million Weekend process was a DocuSign alternative. So one of the ways I looked up potential customers was I went through my Gmail and I looked up every single person who sent me a DocuSign in the past 5 years. And then I sent them an email. It wasn't like a sneaky, like internet markety, like, hey, you're supposed to intro me, but it's really an intro to yourself or anything. No, it's just I looked at people who've sent me it, and then I was curious if they would be interested in an alternative solution. And I was able to sell $3,000 to normal people. This is not some crazy audience of friends that just gave me money. A lot of people rejected me, but it was people that were qualified. And after the 24 hours of selling, had $3,000, giving that to a developer. And February 19th on AppSumo, there'll be a DocuSign alternative. So that was the original intent of me communicating with you.
I love that. It's so true though. Sometimes we try to overcomplicate, and this is something that I feel like I talk about a lot on the podcast too. We almost think of our customers as these like magical unicorn beings that we have to breathe into existence, when in reality they exist already. They're hanging out online, in person. It's just about finding them where they're already active and then finding a way to get in front of them, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense why you chose that as an outreach effort. Anyway, since we were on the topic of email marketing, I just
No,
wanted
this is
to ask.
great. I mean, I think another between email marketing, I'm gonna give you more because you're like, you didn't sound like you're happy enough. And I'm trying to make Ellen happy.
If you're watching this on YouTube, I am very happy, guys. No
No,
pressure.
she's extremely happy.
Yeah.
No, I know you're happy. I'll give you one last one around email marketing. And with AppSumo, again, with email marketing, I'll give you two things. When we were doing emails with AppSumo in the beginning, I didn't even collect emails. I didn't even send it. And then when I started sending it, it was like, hey, we have this product. Go check it out. And this is what I've done as well for the launch of the book. We wrote emails. I mean, the amount of time we would put into an email and the quality of the emails were so good that even if you didn't buy, you want to read the email. And I think that's something to really think about. Like, your husband, when he emails you, do you open those?
Yeah. I mean, he never emails. He's, like, notorious for never checking his inbox. So, yeah, I would open it just because I'd be like, "Why are you emailing me?"
Like, well, and so I think that's an interesting thing about in our own businesses of communication with audiences and audiences turning to customers is how do you get so good that they're looking forward to talking to you? And then what emails are in your inbox that you are always opening and why? And then in your business doing the same thing. And I think the email team alone is, I don't know, maybe 6-7 people just dedicated to writing emails. And so I think that's a good lesson of make the email so good, even if people don't buy anything ever, it's okay that they're excited about what you're sending. And the last tip I would just quickly add in, this is something that you said, and I'm just highlighting. We did this thing called survey to sale. So this has been a new thing that I did with the book that was really fun. I've done this in the past as well. I would send out an email and then I would put a survey, and the survey is like, hey, I'm going to do a book speaking tour. Where would you like me to come? And so we email, this is my personal audience. It's not AppSumo. And maybe like 300 people put in like, hey, come to Japan. I'm like, ooh, that sounds nice. Come to Oregon. I was like, yeah, I'll go see Ellen. And then those people that raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested, basically in a book tour, I said, hey, would you like to pre-order the book and join my launch team? And the thing that everyone can replicate in their own business is how can you survey people to raise their hand and say they'd like to be your customer or they'd like to purchase something? And they're basically self-indicating that they'd like to buy something before they've even recognized it. And then you just help solve their problem. So this person probably wants me to come speak in their city. And then I just emailed them and I said, hey, you want me to come speak here? I can't promise you I will, but I'd love for you to also, if you're interested, sounds like you're interested, pre-ordering the book, here's the link. Let me know if you have questions. And that was, I think, around a 50% conversion rate of people. I think it was maybe higher. So I call it survey to sell method. That was a really fun one where people are also excited. They're like, one, they're excited to hear back from me, but two, they're like, yeah, of course I want to get the book.
That idea of preemptively selling someone, like, without even a product in the yeah, like, just this idea of, like, do you have this interest? Do you have this problem, this curiosity, whatever it is? That's so smart. My mind is already spinning with, like, surveys I
Is
wanna
there a thing? Well, because you can survey anything. And mine
about
is like
anything,
book
yeah.
locations, but how's your family life? How's your clothing life? Who here is interested in this travel thing? And then based on if no one says anything, great. That's awesome. Then you can email them and ask them why they didn't say anything. Then you can actually find out why they don't care. And they're like, oh, I didn't like the way you worded. I didn't like, and you're not selling them anything. You're just finding out if they're qualifying themselves and if you can help them with the problem or help them with the opportunity that they want.
I feel like the way your brain thinks is like a masterclass in curiosity. It's very interesting to me. It's great. No, I feel like that is the best salespeople I know are just really, really curious people, and they don't really take anything personally. It's not a rejection of self, right? If someone's like not interested, it's just like, okay, based on this context or situation, there wasn't a fit or alignment here. So, anyways, great strategy, survey to sales strategy. I'm curious, is that in your book? Is that in Million Dollar Weekend, or is this just like a bonus?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not a bonus necessarily, but it's the same concepts apply, which is how do you understand and find something that people are excited? This is where people miss out. Excited to give you money for. You're not having to convince them. And so it's the same way over in the book, same way we did AppSumo, which is, hey, you want to come to a book tour? Yeah, a few hundred people said yes, and then that's kind of an indication that maybe they would also like a book to go along with the book tour. And I think you can apply that. And that's, it is the method I teach, which is if you're doing something, let's find people who are excited. If not, great, let's find something they are excited about.
For sure. Love that. Number 3.
AppSumo Originals. When I talked to you about the giveaways, number 1, we built that King Sumo software. So that was actually a guy named Damien. He's in Australia. I've never met him. It's been like, we're working together 10 years. He's amazing. Father too, good dude, loves fishing. And he's like, hey, I want 25% of the business and I'll go build it for you. And then we'll just give me 25% of sales of this giveaway thing that we were using. So again, notice maybe things that you're doing that people like. I think that those are some of the best businesses. Like, what are you doing that people, maybe it's cookies, maybe it's clothing, maybe it's positivity like Ellen, and notice that. And then think, oh, maybe that is actually a business. And so that was something that we built. He launched it, became a 7-figure business. And then over the years, what we've specifically done with our originals products is we look for and this is the concept for everyone out there, what's a free or low cost product that will get people into your ecosystem that's actually good. Now, let me be clear on that, because you can have a doo-doo PDF, 7 ways to redo your wardrobe. And it just like that literally, goes into the download cemetery of people's computer or phone folders, versus making something so darn good that they want to know, they want more.
It's like whetting the appetite.
Yeah, it's like the Costco hot dog. It is. It's the Costco hot dog. And these products for us, so since then, we now have built out a full team. And this is, an AppSumo mantra, which is test and invest and then double down, just like giveaways. Then we ran giveaways, still 15 years running giveaways. Same thing with these originals products. We launched King Sumo, that crushed. And then I was like, what other things do we want that there's a low cost alternative that also is viral? So then we're like, oh, MailChimp, let's create sendfox.com. And then 2 years ago, we created tidycal.com, which is a Calendly alternative. And each of those has become a 7-figure business by themselves. And more importantly, that the revenue is not as interesting for us. It's actually the number 1 driver of new buyers to AppSumo. So for everyone out there, you don't have to create a software. Could you create a spreadsheet? Could you create a checklist? Could it be a book? Could it be actually maybe stickers? It depends on like how much your customers are worth, but finding something that's a way of getting people excited to find out about your business.
Yeah, I think the low ticket customer acquisition channel is really smart because like you've shared even in the giveaway scenario, if you can just break even on the front end, you've essentially acquired that customer for free. So anything beyond that, anything they purchase after that is profit. So such a smart idea. I would like to know though, just from like a pure logistics perspective. So like AppSumo, for those of you who may live under a rock and have never heard of AppSumo, definitely check it out. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, hopefully you've heard of it. It's an amazing marketplace for all sorts of software deals. Like you get truly the best price you can get anywhere else. And oftentimes there are, subscriptions or softwares that typically do have some sort of like publicly sell a subscription, but when you buy it through AppSumo, it's like a lifetime deal. So on that side, on the marketplace side, I understand the concept because you're really like a conduit or like a customer acquisition channel, right? For these software brands, you don't have to deal with the fulfillment for the customers you bring on that side. But for your AppSumo originals, for like TidyCal, SendFox, and your other products like King Sumo, when you offer like a lifetime deal on a software, have you ever run into any challenges on the back end because there isn't that recurring revenue to sustain? Like if there's software breakdowns, and I'm just thinking of the software subscriptions in the space that have struggled because of that.
Yeah, in Million Dollar Weekend, I have like a 1-minute business model, so how people can think about this and evolve it. The beauty of software is that there's not a lot of cost to run it generally, right? It's your server cost, and if there's not a lot of traffic bills or server costs, it's pretty minimal. And a lot of things now, it's cheap for it. King Sumo was cool. SendFox, though, you actually have to pay for email. All these mail providers like ConvertKit or MailChimp or Beehive, none of them actually send the email. They use a third party called Twilio, or there's other providers. Now, there's an actual cost when people send more emails. So if we have a lifetime deal, it eventually will lose money and we can't support it. And so the two things people don't understand for us is like, just understand your business economics. So we do have recurring revenue at certain volumes. And then a lot of the way I like to look at marketing is, when do we get our ROI back? So if you're going to spend money to build something, or you're doing an ad, or you're doing this kind of product, like with SendFox, it was like, holy crap, in 5 years, we lose money. That's not good. But with tidycal.com, for instance, we launched it very quickly within 30 days. Instantly, it was crushing. It does around $3,000 a day in profit, which is amazing, which is crazy. It's crazy. And people love it. Now, what's interesting though, it doesn't really cost us anything to run. Like there's not a lot of traffic on these pages. There's nothing, but we do pay $60,000 a month for the team to maintain it. 60,000 a month.
The labor costs, yeah.
Yeah, the team cost, the server cost is minimal, but it's really the team cost. And the reality though is that if we took the team off, it would stay at the $3,000 a month for give or take, I don't know, maybe another 5 years, 10 years, and we would still be generating all that money, but we wouldn't have to support it besides maybe one or two support people.
Interesting. Okay. That makes sense. I guess like your pricing economics, like you said, differ from product to product. Speaking of AppSumo originals, though, I know this is kind of a tangent, but it's still an original product of your own. The subscription or the membership that you guys offer, where like AppSumo fanatics can, get this membership and then they get extra discounts, like a 10% discount on top of the already hugely discounted deals. Well, tell me a little bit about that. Like what was the genesis of that and how do you view that in the suite of original products?
Yeah, zooming out of AppSumo, the software deal site for entrepreneurs. Two things I need to highlight. So, one, you're hearing the things that are working, by the way, everyone. I can also cover all the things we've tried that you've never heard of, but you need to test and try things. And we can go over a little bit of that. But I think that's important where people are like, man, he's launching that at Crush, and that at Crush. But I've had way more failures than successes, way more, right? So even within the originals products, we launch them super quickly. We find out people want them. If they don't, we shelve it. We tell people we're sorry, or we give them their money back and we close it down. So we did an email badge, so like email signatures. We did like a Linktree competitor called Sleek Bio. We did Shorty SMS, which is like an SMS thing. None of those, I don't think anyone's even heard of those. I hope not. And we just launched so many other things like that with the same intent, right? So I think conceptually what to think about is what's the core of your business and how are you doing things that keep stacking towards the core? And I think there's times where we've done things way outside our core, like let's do Shopify e-commerce, or let's try to do like a consumer marketplace. And it's like, that's just not our bread and butter. Our bread and butter is promoting software deals. So how do we keep doing things that build the amount of people we can help promote their deals or bring people to get those deals? Now, in terms of AppSumo Plus, that's our VIP membership. A lot of business, I think every business in the world wants a subscription revenue, recurring
I'm
revenue. I think
I'm reading
that's
a book about it
like,
right now. Yeah.
yeah, the problem is zero of our customers are excited to have a subscription. You know, I think that's kind of a universal truth. Like no one wakes up in the morning, it's like, oh, what bill am I subscribed to today? And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get things backwards. They're like, how do I start a subscription business? And it's like, no. How do you find a recurring problem? That's where you have to come from. And that's where we've made a lot of mistakes on. It's been an interesting business doing this Plus. This is what's going to be crazy. So if you're in Plus, the number one seller of Plus is you get 10% off the products, which are already insane deals. They're already insane. You get these amazing deals, $50 for life. And to give 10% off, if you actually do the math, so we make $100 a year in subscription, but the 10% discount, we may actually be losing money. Like if we didn't have the Plus thing every year, we actually might be making more money. But we've noticed that once you get in Plus, you generally have a higher propensity to purchase.
It's about the return factor, right? The frequency.
There's a return factor. There's a loyalty. If someone's, trying to buy software somewhere, they're like, well, I get my 10% off here, so I might as well get it from AppSumo, even though most of our stuff is exclusive. I would say that over the years, we've tried a lot of things to add more value, in our opinion, to the subscription, but it really hasn't made a difference in people sticking with it. Really, it's just like, are there products they want to buy? And we're still trying new things. Like there's a woman named Katie who runs it. And there's new stuff we're trying around getting people to get our churn to either be zero, which is hard, or very close to that.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing honestly about that. I feel like that's really important to also highlight, like you said, the things that aren't working or maybe not even aren't working, but just there's no clear verdict yet, right? It's like still in the test phase.
The thing I would recommend for others is that test things out, and the test leads you to innovation. The test leads you to learnings. The test leads you to evolve. And so we tried a thing. It was basically called Briefcase. It was the Netflix for software.
Interesting.
Yeah, you never heard of it. And
I haven't.
like that's my point, people. Like go and start today. Go practice these things, get the reps in, experiment, fail, learn, iterate, improve. And so Briefcase, the model didn't work, but we're like, oh, there's something cool where like they can get a discount and then just get it on the products we're already promoting, because the way we set it up was too complicated for us to operate. That led to AppSumo Plus, which is now, I think there's like 20,000 or 21,000 members in it, but that's only because we tried something else that didn't work. And I think that's an important point.
That's so cool. I, as someone who is building a membership or subscription business myself, even just that one way you phrased it, like, what is the recurring problem that you're solving? I really appreciate that. It is, I think in business, it is the simple things that really make a difference and how you think about problems. And I really feel like what I love most about interviewing people on the show is it's not so much, to your point, that the small tactics that I'm after. It's really like, how does your brain process and think about problems?
That's very smart of you. I think a lot of people would love to have a community, right? Like you get these people you get to interact with. Here's a simple thing you can do to make your community more valuable. Like make a list, get people, work with one of your customers, have them list if they have their own business, be like, I want you to list all your monthly bills. Like let's literally, like, can you take like 10 minutes, make a list of every one of your bills. Now put them in order of the ones you're going to cancel from you have to cancel, easiest to cancel to hardest to cancel. So we do this twice a year at AppSumo internally. And it's really fascinating what you can't cancel. And then you have to think about for Ellen's business with your community, like what can you do so you're the last one they're going to cancel, right? Where they're like, oh, I'll keep Ellen over my Twitter account, or I'll keep Ellen over my,
That'd be,
you know,
yeah.
my hosting, Ellen's my, and again, that's something you just have to listen to them and think about. Maybe is it getting them customers? Is it them having certain coaching? Is it that they get certain bonuses? And you can keep checking back on that so that you can improve it over time as you get people in your community. And that's the way you can keep improving it.
That's such a cool exercise. I think I might do that for myself. I don't even know, just to as my own mental exercise about why I prioritize things the way that I do. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, it's fast. I mean, we did AppSumo, so we do it twice a year, the biannual expense review. And we do it with every contractor and every bill we have. And then we have the cost, and then we have like kind of ROI justifications. We have this like $12,000 like teammate review software. And I was like, can we just use Google Forms? And it is a little bit more complicated. It's a little more pain in the ass for the people team, but it's like, yep, see ya. But then our hosting, Stripe, some of the dev software, our email marketing software, Klaviyo, they're $6,000 a month. It's like, oh, our affiliate software. By the way, all those things that you're canceling easy or hard, the ones maybe that are harder, you can think of as business opportunities
How do you make a better solution?
or a more affordable solution. And let me just give you two quick examples on that. Is that Klaviyo, which is e-commerce email, we did create a competitor and we didn't really talk to anyone. So one, that's not our exact customer. Our exact customer is like a solopreneur, it's a freelancer agency, someone like yourself, like someone's hustling, likes good deals, but can also pay full prices, makes things happen. You're not necessarily an e-commerce store. And so it was like totally out of our wheelhouse. We spent 6 months building it. Probably, I don't know if it was $1 million in salaries, but something like that. And then I couldn't beg a person to switch. I couldn't beg my friends. And they're like, no, you got a big network. I was begging on the knees, begging, and no one would switch. But then there's other things like this TidyCal alternative, super easy to get people to switch from Calendly. And then we're going to be competing against impact.com. We pay like $120,000 a year for like 1970 software for affiliate. And we think that there's a big opportunity around that for us and as well as our software creators. But again, talk to the people first.
Yeah. And I think that just brings up another great reminder that it's helpful to, you talk about it in the book, to pre-sell as much as you can, because, the idea validation really is key. I would love to know your fourth idea. I know you just gave us a bunch of bonus ones, so thank you. But your fourth one, I definitely want to hear it.
Yeah, I was like, this is like I've never shared any of this stuff. Like, this is
Really?
literally like, no, not in a condensed format. I was like, actually, this is really good. I don't know. I'm like, this is very good stuff. Like, this is how we operate the business.
I would love for you to share it on your YouTube channel. Let's put it on both, and your people get a masterclass too.
I think, by the way, so two kind of comments on this. One, we are pre-selling that software. So we have a guy who's reaching out this affiliate software. So we're reaching out to people to see if they'll use it. And then if they say yes, we're actually using a different software to deliver it. And if that works the way we think it's going to work, then we're going to build it ourselves. It's exactly how we teach $1 Million Weekend. It's exactly how we run AppSumo. It's exactly how it's worked time and time again. Also, I've failed it time and time again. So I ideally learn from my mistakes. I was saying for the other people out there as well with, this material, like even content, like a lot of what came from the book, it's because I've tweeted it or I've posted on YouTube or I've put a blog out and I'm looking at what people are responding to. So this book is based on a Tim Ferriss article from 2011, but it's evolved a lot since then. But I was pretty confident. I was like, wow, people love that. If I can make it really strong and put it in a better story format, I think it's going to do well. So for all the business out there, how do you, coming back to the survey to sale, come back to all these things, like making sure people are excited about what you're doing versus like, all right, I got to have a subscription product here. This is what's available.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're at time. What's number 4? Number 4, this one, I can already tell you're not going to like, but being public, because you're like, I know it's so obvious. Okay.
No, I don't think any of these it's not bad to have something that is like been heard before. I think it all comes down to execution. I was just talking about this with the podcast guest right before you. Ideas are cheap. one in a million, but execution is everything. So being public may seem like a general statement, but it's like, but how do you specifically be public on behalf of a brand like AppSumo?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of I don't know, I would assume a decent amount of your audience is their themselves are the brand, which is the business.
Yeah, I mean, a decent amount of people are personal brands for sure that listen to this podcast, but then there are many others who, similar to you, have a business where the brand stands on its own apart from their personality.
Which is great. So yeah, zooming out or taking a step back, I like being public. I like the ego. I like the attention. I like the one-on-one connections. I like marketing. I like figuring out, it's fun, it's creative. I love it. So there are people who are like, I don't like being public. I'm like, don't be public then. Get someone else to be public or do it faceless. Faceless is a huge trend that's going in content creation. And so I would say we've surveyed, it's like 35% of the AppSumo customers know me or know of me. And now with with the book and stuff coming out, it's definitely been a huge, so far internally, we're all very confident. We're seeing that there's like, oh, wow, people are going to know AppSumo because they get this book and they're like, oh, what's this AppSumo thing? Or I see Noah doing some weird interviews on YouTube about entrepreneurship. What's AppSumo? And so this really applies in all businesses. And I do think more and more, I've seen my girlfriend now, she's buying things because, she's pregnant. So she's like, oh, I like this mom and she cooks. And then now she's recommending a stroller. And I think that's going to become more and more pervasive. And so it's really nice to be able to have that direct link with you and that audience versus having to pay someone else, which we do. And that's number 5. But you can do it or find someone else. We also now, besides me doing it at AppSumo, we're starting to have people inside our team do it. So Nick in marketing is doing it. I'm trying to have Alona, who's our COO, do it. And again, I want people who want to do it. I'm not, but Mitchell on our team, we said in Q1 this year, your job is to try to make 300 pieces of content and let's just see what happens instead of just getting views, right? Because sometimes views, you optimize for the wrong thing. And so it's like trying to build other brand ambassadors within the business.
I think that's really smart. It reminds me of like what Peloton has done really, really well with their instructors, right? Like they're almost mini brands within themselves. Or even like if you look at a more traditional content business like Dave Ramsey's brand, whether you love him or hate him, I mean, his Ramsey personalities do a lot to further the reach of his brand. So it's not just his face representing. So that's a really interesting experiment. I'll be curious to see where that takes you guys.
Yeah, his name is Mitchell Cohen, so people can go check him out and see. And what I'd recommend for, especially for being in public, I'm gonna give you another more obvious. This should just be called obvious expensive advice, obvious valuable advice.
Obvious advice that has made millions of dollars. So, I mean, there is that qualifier. Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. I was literally in a cubicle. I know this is called Cubicle CEO. I was literally in a cubicle, gray ceiling, gray walls, business casual outfits. It was the worst. And there's not anything, what I try to remind people is I'm not better than any of these people out here. Anyone that can do what I did, I just started and then I've stuck with it. That's the only difference. And that's available for everyone to do too.
I think one of my favorite quotes is that idea that success and failure are walking the same path. It's just success is further down the path. So it's about people who are successful are just the ones who were either stubborn enough or lucky enough to stay in the game for long enough, right? It's kind of like eventually something sparks. And so I agree with you there. But anyways, continue with your being public. Or was that kind of the thesis of that, just making yourself known and building that connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of the people out there, it's realizing that you can become a CEO, just like you're teaching them to do it. And then but you have to get started today. I think one of the interesting things I've been reflecting on is how many cool people I've met from it. Probably generated a lot of money, but it wasn't necessarily like just the intent of that. It was like my best friend Neville was just calling during the show. And I met him because he had a blog on personal finance and I commented on it in 2003. And now he's my best friend. And it's just like, there's so many amazing people out there. And people are like, how do you meet more people? It's like, well, go do interesting stuff. Go put out interesting information. And then that'll also attract people and reach out to them. I talk about pre-fluencers a lot. And we'll do that in number 5. Here's the obvious tip on building a public. This is the one thing. And people, again, they're not going to do it, but one person today is going to change their life from it. I promise you. Pick one platform to win on. Everyone is trying to compete on too many places. Find one that you enjoy, right? Like in $1 Million Weekend, there's like Nick Huber on Twitter. There's Jordan Harbinger on podcast. Look at Jordan Harbinger. His YouTube channel is not, he doesn't try to win there because he can't. But he's winning super big in podcast world. And so same with me, I'm not trying to win on TikTok. I don't care. I don't use it. I don't like it. I don't try to win on anything. I really try to win on YouTube. And then I try to get people on my email list. That's definitely what I've seen is that people building in public are doing, well, I'm going to put it on LinkedIn and then repackage it. It's like, well, how's that one doing? No, none of them are doing great. It's like, oh yeah, keep doing that.
Focus is the most underrated strategy in business. Yeah.
Just do one of the platforms and find the one that you spend more time on or where you feel like you're getting the results. And I felt like YouTube for me I enjoyed it and I was getting the best results for the amount of time it took in terms of the quality of the audience, people finding out and joining the newsletter.
For sure. I think YouTube audiences are really sticky in terms of like the relationship they build with creators. And also, I mean, you can't beat the evergreen value of the longevity of the content there, right? I mean, it's so hard to find another content platform that can really compete with that other than maybe blogging. Love that reminder. Thank you for that important reminder. What's number 5? You kind of teased it a little bit, but also I'm a little confused because I feel like there were multiple teases. So I'm like, which direction are we going here?
No, which way is he gonna go? Number 5 one for us is video ambassadors. You asked for $1 million. These are all $1 million things. These are at least million, if not 8-figure things within our business. And again, with starting a business and these things, you have to think about the opportunity cost, right? Because if you're doing a bunch of 5-figure things or 4-figure things, that you're going to stay in that size. And so as you get bigger, you start thinking, okay, is this a 6-figure opportunity or 7-figure opportunity? So video ambassadors specifically, we noticed our affiliates were just crushing in terms of we would pay them our payouts, and anyone can sign up to be an AppSumo affiliate if you get approved. They were just making a lot of money themselves, and we were turning. So we'd spend $1, we'd make over $1 back our first week. We're like, that's crazy. And then we have an advisor, Moody, and Moody's like, do more of that. And I was like, okay, good advice. Thanks. Here's your money. And so we tried doing more like video sponsorships, just like sponsor people to talk about the deals and software products. So instead of bringing it in-house, like with me, this is out of house. And so now we tried it in the beginning of last year. And now there's a team of 5 people sponsoring different video creators to talk about AppSumo deals. So when this book came out, we had, I don't know, I think 30 people that made unboxing videos. That's also pretty interesting now. Like as we have other things that come out, maybe it's our digital signature product that you might be interested in. We have a network, I think it'll probably be in the hundreds, not thousands, that we're like, here's $50, here's $100, here's $500, here's $1,000, here's 10,000. Can you just talk about this product? And it's been insanely high ROI monetarily, but it's also cool to have this content, as you said, that has sustainability and people trust from people that they're talking about products that they like these people. Now, the thing I was saying about prefluencers, so a lot of people are like, well, what do I do? How do I do that myself? I'm like, great question. I don't know. I guess that's how I feel about myself. I like finding people on the come up. I like finding people that, I don't know, they have really good content and they have really good engagement. There's someone when you message them and DM them, they'll reply. And generally the size of that varies, but maybe let's say around 10,000 followers or less. And I'm just on the lookout for it. And I'm reaching out to these people regularly. It's not like I'm trying to be sneaky. Like I need to, use a CRM and track you and I want to work it. So it's like, I just think you're doing cool stuff. And for some of them, it's like, hey, maybe you can be a video ambassador or maybe there's something in the future we'll do together. But that's the thing I would say is invaluable for this video ambassador program for AppSumo as well, because these people, if we are able to find them as they're getting started, they're likely going to trust us and stick with us once they get big. And not everyone will, but definitely some will. Most people, when you're paying Facebook ads or Google ads or YouTube ads or any of these things, you're paying market prices. But if you're able to sponsor people that don't have market rates, you're going to basically get an advantage there. Because one, they're getting more than they expect, but it's also better payment than you would pay at a market price. If someone sends you like, hey, talk to my ad agency, or here's my press kit, or here's my rate kit, you're screwed. Then you're paying full price.
Simple advice. I like it.
This is the same, I would say the prefluencer marketing, we're specifically doing videos, but I did it at mint.com. That's how I got started a lot with appsumo.com. Who could I sponsor very early on? And now we're having a lot of success with it, specifically in video creators.
So I want to dig a little bit more into this because I'm sure some of our listeners slash YouTube viewers will be, thinking on this and going, okay, I like this idea. Obviously user generated content is more authentic. People trust recommendations from people they already follow. Hence why we have this, multi-billion-dollar influencer marketing industry. But I think the execution of it is where people can often struggle because it's like, okay, I could maybe source, let's say if you are working with a smaller budget, let's say you source 5 to 10 great video ambassadors and they agree to talk about your product or your service or your offer. How do you ensure that you give them maximum flexibility for creative freedom so they can really shine in, their personality and how they talk to their audience? But also, how do you make sure that whatever video they're creating is conversion driven? So it's not just, oh, that's nice for brand awareness, but you're actually able to track that ROI, like you mentioned on the back end.
Totally. And so what I would encourage people to do is either try to do it for free to start, meaning give them your product. Like, hey, I've got a course. Hey, I've got a community. And to be clear, you're working with people who are not really making money yet. I think people are forgetting these prefluencers, are just getting started and they're excited that, wow, I can make a career out of actually like talking about products I already like. There's a guy, Dave Swift, who's now doing that full time, or there's people I think his name is Jose, who does it only in Spanish. But let's go back in time to the beginning of January of last year. We just reached out to one person. We're like, hey, let's make a video. Here's a product. Talk about how you want. And for everyone out there, you can literally just use like a bit.ly or a tracking link, or have them go to a certain landing page, or have them buy from them. And I think what I would focus on, not so much of like they have to have talking points, which we do now, or they have to have certain things or contracts, which we do now. But early on, you just want to see, is this working for your business? Because this might not work for other people out there. But again, how do you do it literally today, right now? and try it out with someone small. And you can go search for a software product on YouTube or search on Instagram or TikTok and DM them and look for, again, small people who are not getting attention. And don't just DM them on the platform, DM them on LinkedIn, find their email with there's a bunch of email finding tools. And you'll be surprised that these people will definitely reply to you. It's again, same thing I've done a $1 Million Weekend, where I look for people on Goodreads, TikTok, LinkedIn, that people are like, you're reaching out to me? Why? I'm like, dude, you're the future. And they're excited. And it's a lot easier to work with them. And I don't put too much pressure on how they do it in the beginning, because I just want to see if it's going to work. And if it's close to it, if you make even a few sales, like, okay, cool. Now let's try it again. And maybe we'll start creating a template where, hey, I'd love to make sure you have this within the first 30 seconds. And you do these certain things that now the team, I mean, Erica and Megan, they run this program. They have all that kind of like contract and stuff. But in the beginning, just test to see if it's working. Then again, test it, then invest it.
I love it. Great mantra, simple advice, but again, so effective. I really like the idea of just sample testing things. Like it really is important for finding like what works for you. These tips have all been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing like your full experience around testing and investing $1 million ideas in your business. And I love that you added the nuances of not everything always works, or not everything works the first time, or it may take time for you to really understand where this fits into your business. But this has been incredibly helpful. To wrap up our case study on these $5 million ideas, I kind of have more of like it's like a hot take question for you, because you are obviously an ideas person. Many entrepreneurs are. How do you discern between ideas to actually take quick action on, like you recommend in the book, and ideas that are simply distractions? How do you discern between those two things?
So how to discern between a distraction and something that's moving is, it's straightforward to me, which is, what's your outcome? What's the goal you're aiming for? What's the goal you're looking for? And then, is this moving you towards it? So let's do a specific example. So at AppSumo, let's say we're trying to get new customers. So a certain amount of new buyers and a certain amount of new buyer revenue. So brand new people that have never heard of us. And let's say we want to get 100 of them. And so you can try a few different things out. So you can try Instagram. You can post on Instagram, and then you have a link that's in the bio in your description. And after a certain period of time, you can say, all right, is this actually driving sales? And for us, it's not at all. Like, we don't do Instagram. You know what else we don't? We don't do Twitter at all. I don't even know if we've posted on Twitter in a while.
Lots of people leaving Twitter, so not alone.
Yeah. What I'm trying to recommend for other people out there, though, is a lot of times it's, you do these things because you think you're supposed to do these things. But if you actually take a step back and say, well, my goal is this, and then look at the things you're doing and say, which one's actually, and again, it's hard because this is the boring stuff, but this is the stuff that matters. And it says, which of these things actually is driving new buyers into AppSumo? So for AppSumo, it is not Instagram. It is not TikTok. It is not Twitter. It's not really even LinkedIn. So you don't see us there at all. And we did notice, though, sponsoring video creators. That's really working. We did notice that I have a course, but really now it's the book. We're selling the book. I think it won't, I don't know if it'll be available there, but we're selling the book at a discount compared to what you can buy it on Amazon. And we kind of think that maybe, even though we're losing money on the sale, those customers could be really valuable. So that's another kind of interesting one. So you have to take a step back on, is, what's my goal? What are the different activities or strategies I'm doing around these goals? And try not to have too many, and try to sort them in what order you think they'll be most impacted. And then based on the result, then you have to make decisions. What I've noticed from most entrepreneurs that haven't had a lot of success yet is they're just doing too many things that are not working towards the goal that they want for themselves. And that, to be clear, it doesn't have to be $1 million business. It could be $1,000 business. It could be $100,000 business. It could be whatever it is you want, but they're just doing a lot of things and not stopping. And the things that are working, like this video ambassador, which we tested with a spreadsheet, Google Docs, everyone can use it for free, tested it in January 23. I think now we have 6 people plus working on it. It does, I don't know if it's in the millions yet, but it's close to $1 million a month, I think, in revenue. And that was just a test we did a year ago. But again, we're not doing these other areas. And I think that's a really hard part for most people, including ourselves. Like, we definitely I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be tweeting. Are you? So I think it's a distraction when it's not moving you towards where you want to be.
That's a great filter to use. So many wonderful gems, honestly. I love, like I said, like a million times, I just love hearing how your brain works and how you think through these problems. And I hope for our listeners today, you got at least one new idea, maybe $1 million idea of your own that you can implement or test and invest, as Noah would say. So if you do, please make sure that you follow up with him, send him an email, send him a DM, tell him what you tried, and we'd love to hear the updates on that. So also, if you haven't yet bought $1 Million Weekend, it truly is one of my favorite business books that I've read in a long time. So doesn't matter what stage of business you're in, I think you can always learn from the way an accomplished founder approaches business. And that's really what I'm taking away from Million Dollar Weekend. So we'll drop the link to order that below in the show notes. Noah, where else do you want to send our people to connect with you?
$1,000,000weekend.com. They can join the newsletter, hit reply to me. I'll say hi.
Awesome. Yes. Let him know you heard him on Cubicle the CEO. Thanks, Noah. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed our chat with Noah Kagan today, I invite you to join us inside the C Suite, our annual membership for small business CEOs. Noah is actually going to be coming to our membership on February 22nd for a private Dream Mentor Ask Me Anything Q&A group chat. So this is not like your typical Zoom call. We're not getting together on Zoom. This is going to be a text-based group chat where Noah's going to be available for 45 minutes to answer any questions top of mind that we didn't cover in today's interview or that you're just curious about. So if you want to chat with an 8-figure CEO and ask him anything on your mind, then all you have to do is join the C-suite before February 22nd, and you'll have access to this AMA group chat. Noah is the first of many dream mentors that we're going to be bringing into the C-suite this year. So I'm very excited for you all to meet him and have the chance to chat with him directly inside our group chat. Also, if you like this bonus episode, we are releasing bonus episodes all year long on our private podcast for our C-suite members. So if you want to hear more of these bonus style episodes, more behind the business solo episodes with myself as well, we are releasing around 2 new bonus episodes a month on our private podcast. So make sure, again, that you join the C-suite to get access to that. The link to join the C-suite will be below in the show notes, or you can go to ellenyin.com/C-suite. That's spelled CSUITE.